passed at the meeting and was turned down for speaking on whatever their subject was that night. Said that it was because they weren't speaking on something in the agenda that night or whatever. And I've been here. I've kind of missed when we voted about this, or when y'all voted about this, or when you made the changes, or how you made the changes. And my thoughts are, I'd like to hear from one of the two new commissioners on what their thoughts were on when we changed it or why we changed it from what we had, because you got so many people that just walk in to ask about something, just like Mr. White that comes and asks about the traffic light over there. It's somebody that doesn't, he won't know, you know, he won't know.
Yes, sir. He keeps talking about we. We who? We are the commissioner. He's not. Where is this we coming from? I've been hearing this we a lot. I've been counting the commissioners, and it's only 5 of us, and it's not 6. So I was just wondering where the we coming from. I wish that he would use his different terminology when he comes down and talking about the commission. He did change it and say him. It's his viewpoint, not we, us, the commissioner.
We are the citizens of Waycross.
But the citizens of Waycross make these changes on this meeting.
Yeah. So
it is us here. It's not a we.
Sorry, I'm still not sure about that.
That's right.
Continue. So my point of view on this is, I would like to hear. I'd like the same respect also. I would like to hear from one of our new commissioners on what the changes were and why they made the changes, and you know when it was made, because it was almost like it was just put in as a document with no wording on the agenda and voted on later that we accept this. And there was no exact wording of the changes that were going to be made. The changes were put in there by the city attorney, and it came up that we accept the changes. We're the ones that's getting the changes. We're the citizens. We are the ones getting the changes because we're the ones speaking. That's the we I'm talking about.
All right. Well, then
if you need me to explain the we for each one, I will.
No.
I will.
You won't do this.
But that's my whole point about it.
I got you. Let me pause you for a moment. Let me clarify that. Once a document has been given to the commission, this document went beyond this room. If I'm not mistaken, I'll ask it, once he finishes chewing, I'll ask the attorney to respond to this. So the commissioners don't have to respond to that, but he's the one who did the writing. You said this and you've seen it. So obviously it's not something that happened overnight. You clarified it by saying, well, the attorney did it, but I want to know, when did they agree? Well, he can give you all that information at one time. I'm going to come to you now as the attorney, and I know you're looking at, look, you got it. But I want you to go ahead and respond to the question, and then we'll move forward. The question is, when did this take place? So this is already done. It's a done deal. If you can respond.
Mr. Mayor, I cannot respond as to the exact dates. I want to believe that it was the second meeting in July, that the first reading. Then there was a second reading, fourth by just into the title, the first meeting in August, and it becomes law. Now, even before the first meeting that we discussed it, the second commission meeting in July, I had previously given drafts to the commission, public record, to the commission to look at what I was suggesting, and that is to make the formal event on Tuesday. That only, if you want to speak as to something the commission will be voting on that night or considering, matters of public information or public action, then you get to speak. But if you want to just talk about whatever is on your mind about the city business or something going on in the city, you do that at a work session. And the commission approved of that, and it stands now as law.
And I just want to ask a question and follow up on that. Do we not have this published in the newspaper? It's not
Published. The only thing that was published in the newspaper was the commission first amended the charter. Some of us addressed that about the speaking at the commission meeting, and that was addressed first. It was published in the newspaper. We're going to make that change, and that was also read twice and passed, changing the charter. And then this, of course, in July, in the first meeting in August, changed the actual code ordinance.
So we've actually had at least 4 votes.
This has been going on, yes, sir, 2 or 3 months.
So what he is saying, that he gave the commission a draft on what was gonna happen. Okay, there was nothing in the paper about it. And if y'all are the only ones that got that draft, how do we, the citizens, go about knowing about that so that we can pull a public records request to see that? Because in the meetings, there was nothing laid out to how it was going to be done, the amount of time, or whatever. Nothing on the agendas, nothing explained, or whatever. If y'all got the drafts, how do we know about it?
They're public record, and they're in the hallway. If I'm not mistaken, these were a part of our materials, and in our minutes and our meetings. So you can go online right now and click. And online, on my website, you can actually read what has been, if I'm not mistaken, you can read what we've been discussing. And you've personally been present in the meetings while we were going through this. This has been a discussion that we have had during the retreat. This was a discussion that we had prior to this. We actually had it in December of last year. The city attorney said because we're going to have new commissioners, he wanted to push it forward and wait till the retreat time. And therefore we waited. We've actually waited more than, if I'm not mistaken, since last year in 2021, at the earlier part of the year, we started doing some formulations of these. This was prior to anyone coming in as much as we are having, which is great. But we were looking at trying to make sure that we were giving the people an opportunity, one, to speak on the subject matter that we are dealing with. One of the things that we've been dealing with has been the interesting thoughts about, say for instance, if we had an event that took place, you get in here and you begin to talk about it after we've already voted on it. If we've already had a discussion on it. So when you will come in as a guest on a Tuesday night, you will be responding to something that's already handled at the upper portion of the meeting. So this gave power to the citizens to come in and have conversation and discourse or diatribe, if you will, about what was going on before it happens. At least you could make your appeal before there will be a vote by the commission. Another thing that had taken place, I believe, with regard to the meetings on Monday night, the work session, we wanted to make sure, one of the things that you brought to pass and you said to us is we want to have some forum, we want to have some back and forth, we want to be able to talk about some things. That was something we were not doing due to the fact that, according to our training, we were not supposed to be having back and forth with anyone. At any point, if a citizen came in and talked, they could talk about anything. But now it's gotten to the point that we're talking about the business of the city. There's nothing beyond it, nothing outside of it. It may be an idea on a Monday. You may say, well, we want to do banners, we want to do badges, we want to do something, and you will say those things when you come to the meeting. then we as a commission have heard you. There may be a draft, a policy of some sort that will be created to help address what you have brought to us. In this particular case, the quorum is one of the major issues that we saw as something we wanted to work on to do better with. And I believe we are doing better with it, in my personal opinion. Looking at the commission, we don't have the outbursts, we don't have the back and forth, and we're not having what we may see in other localities where the municipality, the leadership is arguing with the commission. We don't have that here. We have had, if I'm not mistaken, more civil, docile conversations. Even if people slam the doors and run out and are frustrated because of something we've said, we don't respond to that. We don't go off and lose our cool. That was the whole goal of having the quorum looked at, giving the citizens the opportunity to deal with what's before us before we vote on it. The latter portion of it, I think the work sessions have been proven to be good, in my opinion, because each person who comes in as a guest, you sign in, you speak. It opened the door not just citizens of Waycross, but anyone from anywhere. We initially had it set where you could not, if you were not a citizen of Waycross, come in and speak to anything, unless there was someone, say first we had a couple of people who came in, and they couldn't speak, and they were frustrated because they came distances to come and speak. Well, we've opened that forum up. I believe that gives you a little more leeway. So it has actually given more liberty to the citizens. It has opened the door to the citizen to have a public response and reaction at the time of the event. And I appreciate, if anything, that you're able to come in and say, you know, I don't like the idea that we did this, but the question is, what difference has been made that makes a problem? I think what has happened for us, the only thing I think we changed was the time frame from 5 minutes to 3 minutes.
Yes.
And anytime you are interrupted, as if, say for instance, where he said point of order. Point of order is a statement that means that we're talking outside of what we initiated. So then I'll say, okay, let's hear the point of order. He'll speak it. If it's spoken properly, I'll say well spoken. If that statement is not something that is in agreement with the book here, what we call public order here, the Robert's Rules of Order, we would then in turn go back and say not well spoken and then give you their time. In most cases, once that's spoken, I don't have to get a vote, I don't have to get a second, I don't have to get a motion. I can just listen to that commissioner, respond, and move forward. In this case, I believe your time, of course, is up, but my thinking along the lines now is I'm hoping that those citizens that are in this room and staff members or anyone who may be watching, whether it be Facebook Live or whatever it may be, that they understand that this was not to somehow stop anything, but to help push forward the agenda of the citizens to speak, to talk, and to have a say in what's going on in their city.
Mr. Mayor,
Commissioner.
I would also like to say that Mr. Lockett was also the person that brought somebody in that had traveled a long distance. And I think that he came to you and asked that it be changed so that he could have someone to come and talk, because he did that twice, I think, and we turned him down, and he had to not let him speak. So I think he did that so that he could do the same thing that Mr. Peacock has been trying to do.
And really what we're opening the door for is making sure that everyone who comes to the city of Waycross, they're being heard. They need to be heard,
Yeah.
especially if it's something that's going to cause the city to grow or to become a better city. That's the goal.
Yeah.
Commissioner Strickland wants to speak to what I'm speaking.
So, looking back through my agenda on my computer, that date was July 5th. That was brought into section 2-67, public comment to the meeting of the commission. And that was in July. That was July 5th, and it was on the agenda. And it was discussed in great detail.
So it may have been a situation you might not have been present at that time, or you might have had to step out for the restroom or something. But reality is we've had that discussion, and hopefully some snippets of it were put in our local journal so that you're able to go back and read it, as well as go back to what our city clerk has documented. So I appreciate what you said tonight, and I do thank you for being present.
And just as a final thought,
Yes, sir.
all of this sounds good. It all sounds good. But we get 2 opportunities a month. And when I say we, I'm talking about the citizens, like myself, and like anybody else that comes through this door and comes up here and has something to say. To limit that to a certain amount of time. 5 minutes is cool. I got no problem. There ain't much I can't say in 5 minutes. When you start nitpicking it down to 3 minutes or putting it to a certain thing, this is the only place we've got to come and talk about anything that happens in the city of Waycross. We can't go to county. They can't help us. We can't go to nobody else. We've got to come right here and speak to y'all. Whether you realize it or not. Some do, some don't. I speak to everybody in this town, except for a chosen few that have chosen to make it where I can't speak to them. But most people in this town I speak to. I'm all over everywhere. I've been on here forever. And the idea that I hear from different ones about their community, their section, where they live at, and they try to speak to their commission. And as 2 different people told me, I would shoot away like a fly, and was told that that person was too busy to talk to me at that time. I got something fixed in their community for them just by asking. No problem. When the person representing them didn't do it. So this is where we've got to come and say something at. And it's almost like a censorship that we're trying to put on the citizens. That you don't want anybody like myself or Mr. Hargrove or Dr. Martin or anybody else that comes here regular to say something that will help push this community forward. Because regardless of how you feel about me, don't matter. Don't matter. It's not going to change my bills a bit. My whole thought is to try to help move this community forward. And try to help anybody that comes into this community make it better for them. And I hear something that just kills my soul sometimes. When you go up there, you tell them I said so and so, or I thought this, or whatever. If they think it, let them come tell it. I'm not coming there. I come speak for myself. And the thing is, we don't want to hide nothing. We got nothing to hide in this town. You know? And the thing, we want everybody to be able to come and speak to you. You and I spoke a while ago. We laughed. Had a good time. Same thing. We always do. And that's where we're at. And we don't want people to get the idea that they can't come here and say what they got to say. But that's what we're doing. And that's about as good as I got. So I'm going to take me and we, and I'm going to go back over here. Thank you.
Commissioner Strickland.
One thing I'd like to address in the comments that were made just then is that when we put it down on the limit of 3 minutes, it seems short, and it is. I mean, when you think about 3 minutes. But here we had a 3-minute time limit, which is now lasting 15 minutes. And what happens in this 3-minute time period is that, especially on Monday nights at the work session, which before, when I first became a commissioner, commissioners were not allowed to address guests. We were not able to have dialogue back and forth and learn and ask questions of ourselves. Even there were times when people would come and I'd have questions and I'd have to chase them out the door to ask these questions. But now, because we've changed we've changed our charter. We are allowed now to speak and ask questions. Therefore, that increases the length of time. As we all know, especially the regulars that come to the meetings, especially on Monday nights, as you all know, there are several times that we don't get out of this, we do not get out of this business. And I say we, I'm talking to the commission and everybody else, department heads, everyone. There are several times that on Monday nights, we do not leave this building until 9 o'clock or later. And it's one of the reasons being is because when we have this part of the agenda come up, it extends beyond. So sometimes you've got to start curtailing. I mean, we talk about trying to be physically responsible and things. We've got people that are on payroll that are here on overtime. So, you know, by having that limited time, I do understand, but that also, that time is extended, especially when the commissioner asks a question and inquires even more. So to say that it's censored or whatever, no, it's just trying to help us all move forward and move this meeting forward. Unless we get bogged down. Thank you, Mr.
One last thought concerning this area, and that would be the idea of making certain that as we go out into our community and we're looking around, that the commissioners themselves set up their own time where they can meet with people in their communities, so that there will be a forum and that there will be a time that you can share with your commission or with your group. I would say on both sides, we need some form of a town hall in each one of these areas where we have buildings set aside, we have time set aside, you can just set up your meetings and have interaction with the people and bring some of those ideas. One thought, and this is just as we turn this over to the hands of our city manager, and that is this. We need to have, I would say, bureau chiefs or something of that sort, or someone in that area keeps that commissioner aware. That's that go-to person. So they can hear and know what's going on. Otherwise, you don't know what's happening if an individual is not talking to you. And sometimes if we're focused on only one section of our group, we only hear that section's talk. So we do need people who are able to at least construct and create some form of a committee or a group where meetings can be had with commissioners 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And I'm always for you making sense. I know that personally speaking, I can walk into a meeting and listen to what's going on. We're usually here all the time. So the point is make sure that you make that door open for someone to come in and talk. So you won't feel censored, as we said. We are not doing that. It's just we're trying to push these meetings forward. Commissioner Davis.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I brought that way up because people in my district and others that I've seen that do go on and listen to us and before. And I've been reluctant to bring it up, but I figured I needed to now since we changed and going in another direction. They were asking, they wanted to know if Mr. Hargrove, what district did he serve, but when he was using the word we, they were confused and they would say, when did we do this?
Commissioner Strickland was talking about a word.
All right.
The point of order I have is recording our recording, we're not supposed to say the word.
All right, we won't sing them up, but then we had some guests that were saying when did we pass this? When did we talk about this? When did we vote on this? And so forth and so on. And they were confused as to who those that do it. And that's the people that do it. I call them for water on that. They were really confused as to why. When did they get served? When did they run? What district were they in? Or were they a part of the city staff or whatever? And that's why I want to distinguish the weeds. I understand the weeds are but when they say when did we pass this, when did we vote on this, I'm not calling our hands on the weed. Are we keeping things from this particular person? No, we're not. But it is the way they address their commission, and that was not the right way.
Thank you, Commissioner. We'll now turn this over to the hands of our city manager.
Mr. Mayor, so we've already discussed the travel training schedule. So the next item will be bids.